Welcome to WMITV News, brought to you by Horn Auto Center on the west deuce of Clubs and Sholo, the Chevy store that saves you more. Here's Laura Singleton.
I'm Laura Singleton from the White Mountain Independent. Today we're here with Sheriff David Clouse from the Navajo County Sheriff's Department to talk about some of the changes that they've implemented since the coronavirus outbreak. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we've got a few questions that we thought would be good to share with the public. The first one is, we understand you're getting some questions, concerns from the public about disease or the virus spreading through the jail. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very important question. It's a great question, and we've had a lot of concern. And of course, we're very concerned about that as well, as we try to mitigate and limit those types of exposure, and also keeping the jail operational for our local law enforcement partners. Last week, we sent out a press release, one to limit the traffic or the public entering the jail. Of course, we've stopped all visitors, tours, contact visits. All our visits are being done through our tablet or our internet system, kind of like a FaceTime that you do on the phone. So family, friends, relatives, they can still contact those that are incarcerated, but it's all over the internet or through email. Then we've also limited no contact visits because following CDC guidelines, we feel that contact visits are within 6 feet or those types of rules that would help limit those type of exposure. So we're still, of course, open to legal visits and to court orders, but we're asking all our legal visits are now behind glass over the phone through email and different methods of technology to limit that exposure. The other steps that we've taken in is, one, screening all our inmates that are being booked in. Now, we've always done medical screens because we're always concerned about the well-being and the health of our detention facility. This is new. Coronavirus is obviously new epidemic that we're dealing with, but we've always dealt with some sort of concern of disease being introduced into an infectious disease into the jail system. Sure. And so now we've seen some of the measures being temperatures, coughs, fevers. So every inmate's is receiving a temperature check before they're booked in. So in our booking center, we have our nursing staff screening all inmates that come in. Okay, so you're looking for some key symptoms that may be added to your existing list and a little bit of a heightened awareness, so that if you need to go to, do you have like a second level of screening if you think someone may have symptoms in line with COVID-19? Yes, and that's what we have, a nursing staff of 7 that are in place there all the time. And so every inmate that comes in is screened for that. And we've had a couple that have come in with a temperature of greater than 100, and we've sent them to the hospital for additional screening. So if they do have that, they have shortness of breath, or if they have some sort of cold, or part of the screening, if they've been exposed to anybody or they've traveled, you know, those same questions, we're seeing that. But that's not just inmates either. That's all staff. Every staff that comes in every day, because we have our staff that goes home and comes in, they're screened every day when they start there. And even myself, if I come into the jail for business, I'm screened to make sure that I don't have a temperature, and I go through those questions. And then we're limiting everybody not past the booking area so that it's kept clean. And of course, we're taking all the precaution measures of decontaminating areas. Some new thing that we just kind of implemented too is we had visitation centers in the lobby, and we've shut those off too because we were getting a high traffic of the public, and so we were constantly have to clean that. And so we've asked our vendor that provides our visitation through technology that they've now allowed one free visit to the public, or to every inmate per week, and so they can do at least one free visit. And then they've reduced their rates because we've limited some of the other options, and so then they've opened up those options to so you can kind of channel them through that medium. Yeah, so it's all taken care of at home, and nobody has to really come down to the jail. Because, Laura, quite honestly, our focus and our priority at the Navajo County Sheriff's Office is to keep that jail open. That is an essential function of the criminal justice system here in Navajo County. That's something that we provide service to all the local law enforcement agencies, and in order to keep the operations going, we need to protect that, and that's what we've been committed to for this entire month, and prior to that as well with other issues. But we've been committed, and I'm really proud of the staff that we meet daily. We've been meeting daily, coming up with new guidelines. The sheriffs across the state have weekly conference calls where we're sharing ideas and we're talking about proactive measures that they've seen while maintaining our facility. And
so this has almost allowed you to develop a best practices per se by sharing that information with other agencies. Okay.
And you know, there's been a lot of work release programs and stuff like that. Of course, those have all kind of been stopped, so that people, it's the in and out that could introduce something into the jail. So
just like anywhere else,
just like a school or a restaurant or anything like that.
People interacting. So knowing that the jail and the sheriff's office is one of those very essential, critical services.
Yes.
Can you tell us about how, if there's any change in your procedure with your deputies, if there's a call that involves something medical, where they may need some more hands-on with someone when they arrive on scene, that type of thing, that since, you know, with it being such a huge area, you get such a variety of calls.
Yeah.
How has that changed?
So we, at the Navajo County Sheriff's Office, we run a dispatch center where we dispatch for northern fire departments, and I say northern, on the northern part of the county with Holbrook, Sun Valley, Joseph City, and we also do dispatch for Holbrook PD. And so our dispatch center receives a lot of calls for all these agencies. And what we've done is we've done some screening calls, just like you would see with other people that have contact with the public. And so when somebody calls 911, or if they call for a medical emergency, we're asking, you know, those types. Does the individual have a fever, cough? Has anybody in the home been exposed, or do you know of anybody that's tested positive? Those initial screenings, so that during their response, our first responders have this information. And so it doesn't mean that we're not going to go. It just means that the deputy or the EMS now needs to prepare with, of course, we're always gloves, masks, and our personal protective equipment, but now we know that they need to be on a heightened awareness for those types of things. And then of course we're providing this equipment with our deputies, because if they're going on medical calls and if they're not first on scene, we're asking them to just, you know, to do what they do, scene security, instance like that. But if they're first on scene and they have to go hands-on with somebody, say it's not a medical call but it's a law enforcement type of call, to always protect themselves, and their health is our priority.
So it sounds like part of those or part of that process starts with dispatch.
Yes.
So they're the ones that are going to help ask the right questions, kind of triage per se.
Yes.
Because they make all kinds of decisions when they're first getting that information.
And prior to COVID-19, they're always our screener too, for what type of call, what type of resources we need. And this is just one more aspect that we're adding to it.
Sure. So since they're your front line getting that information, can you tell us a little bit about what types of calls you're seeing? If you're seeing more calls, if people are calling and asking different questions, you know, what's coming through the lines?
That's a great question. I think some people have seen that across the country. Here in Navajo County, and I think across the state of Arizona, especially here, we've met with our dispatch supervisor every week, and I kind of asked some of those questions. What's our average calls to this week last year? And it's right there. We haven't seen a major increase, and we've had just a couple calls, nothing significant, nothing real serious, and we're not being bombarded. You know, I've seen some stuff on social media where people are calling 911 because they ran out of toilet paper, different things like that. But we've had none of that here in Navajo County. I think a lot of people have remained very calm and very
using common sense. All right.
And we haven't seen, just a couple little comical things that have come in, but nothing we're not bogging. We haven't had a significant where they're bogging down the emergency lines, or we're having an influx of calls.
Good. So is anyone calling, asking who they should call because they have symptoms, and maybe your dispatchers are giving them that information about you can call poison control, you can call your provider, you can call Summit Cares, you know, is that kind of thing happening?
No, we haven't. We've had a few of those calls, but I think with the social media and the technology we have today,
there.
Outlets such as WMI Central has been very out front and pushing a lot of information. The state's doing it, the county's doing it, the cities are doing it, and so I don't think the people are turning, where do I get information, because it's so available and there's so many people that are covering it, which is fortunate because it's left dispatch centers to focus on what we do.
Sure, so everyone's well informed. Good, that's great. That's great. So if calls are, when you compare to last year, this time are about the same, there's not an influx?
No, or in nearby weeks right now, we haven't seen a big spike either.
Okay. So good to know. So what about, the governor made some additional changes recently. Can you talk about that and what has changed maybe in terms of evictions and some other things that the sheriff's office might typically do?
Okay. Yeah, so there was the executive order put out by Governor Ducey last Friday, and then I think it went into effect on Saturday. And yesterday there was a change, or an addition to that, where it's talked about evictions and bankruptcies. And so that's something that kind of directly affects the operations within the sheriff's office, because we're officers of the Superior Court, and we work closely with the justice of the peace courts throughout the county. And so those have obviously been stopped or had a pause in those operations, and so that's something, of course, we're going to be following those that order from the governor. And then, of course, we have the executive order that's talked about the closing of bars and restaurants and movie theaters, just to dine in and take out. And we've seen a lot of responsible business owners out there that have followed that, and they're coming together as a community. And it's been difficult. I mean, it's difficult for the business owners. It's difficult for the people as their routines are being adjusted. But we've seen a lot of responsibility and a lot of people that are in this together, that they're trying to mitigate it the best we can.
And it's very stressful when business owners don't know. There's no end date. You know, they don't know when they can reopen for business, how long it will be, if it will be a month, if it will be 2 months. So
it's hard to prepare for.
It is, and as the stress compounds because of those things, do you anticipate seeing maybe a little more, I don't know what the word is, but a little bit more tension when your deputies are out on calls and dealing with the situation that maybe 2 months ago might not have been as tense per se?
Yeah, we haven't seen that right now, but I think you bring up a great point where people don't know what the end is, or they don't know. If you were to make a preparation or plans to say we need a plan for this for 30 days or 60 days, people can adjust, but the end date is unknown. And so that's an important question. It's a great question. And in fact, earlier this week, I called all the chiefs and law enforcement officials within Navajo County. We had a impromptu meeting, and we're going to be setting these up every week, seeing what the trends are, seeing what kind of changes we're seeing. And that's something that we're obviously trying to lessen or prepare for too, as well, is to see if there's anxiety or tensions out there, and how to best respond to that, and how that's going to affect our operations.
And when you're in the business of people, it's a lot of times what people are going through. If there's one or a few certain things that you want the public to know about the sheriff's office during this time, what would that be? What do you want people to walk away with knowing about you being there?
Oh, that's a great question. Thanks for asking. Is that we are still here for you. We are still operating. Our deputies have taken an oath to protect and to serve the community of Navajo County. And all our local police chiefs and agencies, we're all in this together, and we've all committed to protect our employees, to protect our jail, and to protect our operations, so that we can continue to provide those services, and that every day we're working to minimize some of those concerns and to better prepare ourselves. And the one thing my recommendation too is to remain calm and to and you've seen a lot of unity and a lot of support that people are showing to local businesses, and
Yes.
we are there as well to support them and to help message what the changes are coming. And then the final thing I would say is to protect themselves, not only by the guidelines that we see from the CDC, the state of health, but also to protect themselves from scams. We've seen in some of our intelligence briefings that we do get that there has been a rise, and we've been posting a lot about this on our Facebook, social media, is every time there's a crisis like this, some of our scammers and some of our online attacks look for opportunities like this, and we don't think this is any different, and we're seeing that as well. And so protect yourselves not only with your health, but protect yourself financially and with these scams.
That's great advice. You know, right before I came here this morning, we received a press release, and I think it was from the FBI, about a scam that's happening. I didn't get a chance to read the details on it, so I know that we have one of our longtime reporters working on a story right now about some of those scams, and one of the ones we heard yesterday was people calling and offering their assistance to do shopping for someone, the elderly, that type of thing. I'll come by, get your money, get your credit card and your list. Have you had any calls like that?
No, we haven't seen any that have been reported, but we've been advised of the briefings that we are, and we're concerned about it. And what we suggest is, one, check your sources. Call us if you're unsure.
Excellent.
But check your sources, whether you're getting information on COVID-19 or you're getting information on the governor's executive order. Make sure you're going to credible sources.
Excellent.
And checking that. But if you ever have questions, and we ask the public, please call our non-emergency lines if you have questions about services like that.
Okay.
Because we know Walmart and the large vendors provide those services already, but then there's a lot of good going on in the community too. I don't want to, there's so much positive going on where the schools are doing those school programs, but then there's teachers and there's residents within the community offering to help provide those services. So I'm not saying it's all bad, but we're just saying be careful and verify those sources.
Okay.
And if you're ever in doubt, please call us.
Good advice. Good advice. Okay. So just kind of a wrap up, what is your website and your Facebook address for the Navajo County Sheriff's Office? So
our Facebook, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and it's Navajo County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
And our website is Navajo County Sheriff, or navajocountyaz.gov/sheriff.
Okay.
And then our non-emergency lines, 928-524-4050.
Great. And we'll put that up on the screen for our watchers. And then lastly, the We Tip the Crime line.
Yeah.
And we'll put that one up as well.
Yeah. If you ever want, and that goes to not just anything about coronavirus, but if you any unreported crimes or any suspicious activity, we always encourage We Tip, and you can remain anonymous.
Excellent. So thank you so much for talking to us today, and we really appreciate all that you do and being the calm in the storm and all the information that you provide as well. I know that a lot of the job out there is educating people and helping people through a tough time. So we really appreciate that in our partnership, and we'd like to add to that. We encourage everyone to check sources, try to avoid listening to rumors and getting yourself worried over that. Our website also is the WMICentral.com, and our Facebook page is the same, WMICentral.com. We also have a COVID-19 tab on our website, and we're putting a lot of those things that are press releases, school meal programs, things that we get from other agencies, we're all putting on that tab. So thank you so much, and we look forward to working with you through this crisis.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for watching. I'm Laura Singleton with WMITV News.
you.